All right. Okay. All right. Let's do this thing. Best boys.
Live? Is it happening? Is it real?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Best Boys Podcast, number 16. I am your host, and my name is JP. I'm with Kory.
Hands up and hands down. Back up. Tell me what you gotta do now.
Why would you ruin it?
Because it felt like a Limp Bizkit moment.
No.
Is it not? You weren't in a Limp Bizkit moment?
No, I was not. I was channeling that. Thanks.
Oh,
that's okay.
shit.
That's okay. That's all encapsulates Best Boys Film Podcast. It is an amateur film study podcast hosted by Slob Thomas and an actual man in the industry, my brother.
Kory with a story. Corniest names coming at you live.
Kory's got the corniest names. Corny with a story.
But anyways, how was your week?
It was a week. A week happened.
Yeah? Doing anything fun and exciting?
7 days occurred. No.
Interesting. Nice. But I had 2 days on Euphoria again. It was super cool. We were shooting this like end credit scene thing. I don't know if it's like a season ending thing or what, but we only have a couple more months left in the show. But it was super cool. Let's just say the one day there was like 150 yards of dolly track, and I had to full sprint with the 2 dolly grips that were pushing the camera for over a football field's length like 4 times in 100-degree weather, and almost died. It was awful.
Yeah, you gotta start training, boy.
I know. I feel so out of shape. It was the day right after the last podcast. As soon as I got to set, it was just like, Jesus Christ. There's no shade. There's no nothing. They had like 4 blocks of the street section off for like this car stunt thing, and it was just like, it was fucking So it was the worst. It was so bad. Half of my neck has been peeling like a lizard for the last 3 days.
Maybe one day I'll actually watch that Euphoria show. I heard it's all right. I heard it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, man.
It's
one day
8/24.
I'll do that. Give you my hot takes, sick takes.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I'm glad you're back here on the eastern coast of the United States. United States.
Till next Thursday, and then I'm back out there
Jesus
for a couple
Christ.
days.
Jesus.
Oh, my October is completely fucked.
Why didn't you just stay out there for the month? Why come back for 5 days?
Because I still have work locally.
But is it worth the money to come back for it?
Yeah. And it's 10 days or 9 days off in between dates. But October I'll be out there for like a week at a time. Because I have like four or 5 HBO days, and then I have a music video out there. But then I have like a ton of cam updates on this cooking show here that I can't miss out on. So it's just like I'm taking a lot of red eye flights and a lot of no sleep October.
I don't understand it, but it is what it is. But I'm glad that you're working, and that's what matters. But all right, we got some movies to talk about. This is a film podcast.
Yeah. Do you want to start with First Reformed, since that came first, and it has first in the name?
Yeah, well, let's talk about both of these films are directed by Paul Schrader, who is a longtime director, actually, but also a writer even before that. He's most famously has written the Martin Scorsese films Taxi Driver, as well as Raging Bull. Which are two of great films, some of my favorites. I think Taxi Driver, I don't have the reverence for it as other Scorsese films. I feel like it's a lot of people's first favorite Scorsese. But it's still, both great flicks. Raging Bull's got some serious vibes.
I've never actually seen Raging Bull.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's very like retro. They shot it very retro for the time, but it's still old for now. So it is this really interesting like mixture of different periods and period styles of film. Super sick. But yeah, and Paul Schrader's films are known for having a violent male protagonist who loves to live in small, austere rooms, cell-like rooms. We get that in both of these films today, with Card Counter and First Reformed. But I think that honestly, these two films are a perfect dichotomy of how he does it well and how there are some films of his that are not as good. And yeah, I love First Reformed, and I think it came out in 2017. So yeah, we can talk about that first. Distributed by A24.
Bam. Yeah, I didn't know this one was an A24 film.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it going in. I didn't even watch.
What did you know afterwards? I mean, like, do you just found out now?
No, I mean, it was on the
okay.
poster when I went to rent it, but like I went in like blind, and it was just like, oh, this is this. Oh, so there's got to end up being some weirdness to it at some point. But it was good. I liked it a lot.
I love this film. This is the second time I've seen it. I knew that I wanted you to see this film. I wanted Riss to see this film. She didn't get a chance to, but I honestly really want to watch it again because it is such an easy watch for such a slow burn. And I think that's what makes slow burn films great. Like, like somebody's like, I can't deal slow movies. Like, watch this. And then like challenge yourself with this, because I feel like it's an example of a slow burn and you're really interested. It feels like almost like a prestige television show. I hate and I know that people in film don't like to be compared to television because it's kind of like I guess the modern age of prestige television kind of apes cinematic feel and looks and narratives a little bit. But that's what it felt like. A really good, self-contained, like 2-part miniseries, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibes on. Because the second half of it just starts going in a completely different way. After he goes to the doctors and stuff. It reminded me a little bit, you just talking about it now, just like the tonal shift. And I know this is completely unrelated, but Nymphomaniac, where it's just like part one is one way, and then the second half, it just kind of derails into the characters kind of start going in the same direction between these two movies.
This makes sense. I've never seen that, but it's on our list to talk about someday. That's Lars von Trier, I believe, right?
Yep. Part of his trilogy.
It definitely builds to this moment, though, because there's this underlying, both of these films, and I think that's what this film pays off, the feeling of unease, but it's like this quiet chaos, there is horrible feelings inside of me, but the outside of me is calm and stoic and just doing my duty and, living my life routine. They're obviously emotional men with how they journal. Their journals are really the revelations of how much they are feeling throughout all this, though their stone faces might indicate otherwise. But it works so much more in this film because there's this great crazy ass payoff in the end. I don't think the payoff, quote unquote, in the Card Counter is nearly as fulfilling or satisfying. Because I like the twist gets me here because you could see it coming because they do literally. I don't want to reveal too much plot because we haven't done it yet, but like once they get to that big twist at the end, you're knowing what's happening, but it still just like catches you off guard somehow of the rawness of it. Watching him drink, Drano and are trying to take Drano shots and then even in the end with the final kiss, it's impactful. This shot,
it was.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, this movie is just like the internal tortures of a man who seems to be lost and then finds conviction in in the death of a churchgoer, and it's just kind of like even before that he mentions about how he like doesn't pray anymore, and it's like it's a struggle to not pray, and like he's clearly fighting something, and then as you learn about it from his own past pretty early on in the movie, you just kind of like, all right, well that explains how he is, but then he just kind of like the stuff with the Michael character, it seems to really internalize and resonate, because you have somebody who has mainly just looked at the past and how awful the past has been, and you're looking for a brighter future, contrasted with somebody who is like the future was bright and great, and now we're
headed into we're headed into the apocalypse. That is our own doing and is easily preventable, and that's extremely frustrating. Their politics are a big. It's amazing how politics is a huge wing. I don't know why wing is the word I'm thinking of, but a huge wing of this movie. But also, I feel like you could swap it out with something else, and the large story still is intact. Like I kept thinking, like this is. I think it's kind of a subversion. This kind of story, I feel like with a church and everything, that I would more associate with like a conservative terrorist or extremist, more than like the likelihood of this person being a global warming eco-terrorist. I feel like it's a little bit rarer of a thing, but it's also something I thought of right before while I was getting a shower before we did this, was that if he did it with this story with a conservative, it's usually conservatives are like conservative conspiracies and stuff like that, like going down that internet hole and getting freaked out about something to the point where you want to murder people. The difference is usually on that side of things, it's something that is fabricated or hyperbolized, like it's not real. Whereas global warming is something that is very real to, in the scientific community. Like you said, 90% of scientific consensus, 97% of scientific consensus, but we are trying to pretend like it is debatable. We're trying to pretend like it's political. It's political, and it's not. And I think that is the point that I came to realizing why this makes more sense. Like it has more power than making it about something fabricated and just about mental illness. So this person's obsession over Donald Trump or QAnon or what have you, versus something that is very real, that has got to be frustrating for somebody who feels passionate about. Riss is very passionate about global warming, and she brings that up, like the shit like this, like by 2050. Shit is going to be way different. There's multiple facts throughout the film that are brought up. So initially I was like, well, it felt off for it being centered around global warming of all things. But as the film progresses, you see more and more of the motifs, like the funeral scene, and then there was like straight up B-roll of trash all over the world, and the world burning and things like that. And it's a little heavy-handed, though. I would say
that's exactly what I was waiting to say. Is like I think this is a good thing, but it's hard to take as serious because of how heavy-handed it is. Like
it's heavy-handed, but at the same time isn't like I said, this film could function swapping a different issue or a different political point. Like
I feel like you could have for the scattering the ashes thing. Like I feel like you could have that same power, but then take out the choir and the footage of like the stuff. But it's still like I feel like you still have that meaningful. But then it's just like, all right, we're gonna pause the movie to just you're gonna listen to kids sing about the planet needing restored, and we're just gonna show you just terrible images of the environment, and then we'll go back to the movie. Where I feel like
those weren't back to back. The terrible images of the environment were later in the film.
No, I don't know why I thought they happened in the same sequence.
No. The choir singing during the funeral, that was the thing by itself. And then later in the film was the B-roll. It was actually when he was going. It was during the scene where Amanda Seyfried is laying on top of
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and they
Ethan
go.
Hawke, and they float, and
Yeah.
it's like first it shows all this beautiful nature, and then
Yeah,
it somehow
yeah.
changes to destruction. Honestly, I loved that the green screen, like
Oh, that was super,
nature,
like, cool.
like the trees and the waves and then once it like was just B-roll of destruction, I was like, this is like, yeah, we know what this movie's about. I don't know.
Yeah.
That is like my only issue, because as much as I support this, like this is something that I wholeheartedly support and believe in. So it's not like I'm offended. It's not like this is not my politics is my issue with it. I just think it could have been handled a bit with a little bit more nuance and a little bit more subtlety. And that is really one of my only gripes with the entire film, though. Like, and I could see someone thinking that it's a big thing, but the film is so powerful, just in Reverend Toller's story. If you just make it about him and try not to think about the larger messages here, it is such a powerful story about this man. And in Amanda Seyfried's story as well, like as a widow and just trying to help her husband afflicted with mental illness. But also, believing in his cause. I think I'll pass it back to you. But I think that's the hard part, is that the mental illness with a real ass cause. It's not like it's QAnon. QAnon makes it easy to write them off as crazy, because that's what they are. Having some kind of. But this is something so real. So, what did you think about that?
Well, I was gonna say, like, especially when this was made in 2017, so it was probably written in 2015, so it was before like QAnon was probably was even a thing.
There's still conservative groups,
but because you still had like flat
and conspiracy shit was very popular in the mid 2000s, mid 2010s.
9/11 truthers, and shit like that. But what I was gonna say was going back to the conservative church thing, like when they have the diner scene with the bulk guy comes in, and you can see like Cedric. That's like Cedric Entertainer is like, he's clearly just like, hey, I'm on your side, but like he pays all the bills, and like we need this money to keep this church going.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like it's the moral versus like which moral do you go? Because that's like from his perspective, I get it. It's like you got thousands of people that show up and watch live that you like are trying to give the word of God to, and like that is a righteous deed in itself. But at the same time, it's like if there's no planet, there's going to be no people left to watch your live stream. So
that's something that the government has to deal with. That's something that corporations have to grapple with. Like, do you fuck up today's profits for the long term? And it's hard for some people to reconcile short-term prosperity versus long-term survival. And it's hard. A capitalist makes that hard to do, because your survival. I need to survive today until tomorrow, not 25 years from now. I can't think about 30 years from now, because I'm trying to survive till tomorrow. And even for a rich pastor like Cedric the Entertainer's character,
but even like you're
a thing, you gotta run a business. I got a business to run here.
Do you know how much staffing I have? But what I was gonna say was the I just had it. It's like enjoy, like if life's gonna be shit anyways, then I'm just gonna make the bet, like enjoy it now, and then we're all fucked anyway. So just it's just like it's like the 20s before the Great Depression. Like, let's just live like kings, and then we'll suffer later, because everything's just fucked. But I don't know. I like this a lot. Towards the end of the movie, like pretty much post him going to the doctors, like his whole mood switch, because like it's just kind of like his character just has like way more of a tonal shift, and like one of my favorites.
He's dying, and I think that makes him more reckless.
One of my favorite scenes was the one with Esther, the lady who's like, really, she's looking out for him. She's so caring for him.
Well, she also loves him. She also wants to have a romantic relationship with him, and he spurns her the entire movie. I know. And
Oh,
then,
man.
sorry, go tell her what he says.
It's just like, I despise you. I despise what you make me feel and do. Like
You're a
everything.
stumbling block.
Yeah, like you're just fucking. It just was like it was so mean, but it was just like I get it because he's just like I'm dying. I don't have time for anybody else other than just getting my shit together, or like what I want to do done. Um, and it's just like, and it's how can you not get it? You know what I mean? Like he's being a dick, but like it's like what would you do if it's like somebody like if you're in the same situation?
But then at the same, it's like he knows what he must do, like because of his circumstances, but he obviously can't fight that he has feelings for, like Amanda Seyfried, and like she, I think,
and which
she likes, I think, him, and he's just trying to do his job, but he realizes he has feelings as well, and it culminates in that final moment of and passion. And
she forgets about her husband real quick.
well,
But-
I don't know. I don't know if it was like that. I think it's just
I feel like there
the
was some
emotion,
romantic tensions.
well, just how emotional this all is, and they experience this together. It's like surviving with something with somebody, you know, like he saw that guy blow his dead body with his head blown off, and she's been dealing, trying to stop him from doing that, and she failed. And even like the line from that Bulk guy where he's like, oh, you were helping this guy and he killed himself, so you're telling me that he talked to you for help and then he killed himself the next day. So I guess it doesn't make you, pretty much implying that you suck as a counselor. Like you're partially culpable for this man's death.
Which that was fucked up.
But I imagine that's thoughts that you might have when you go through all this, and they're both going through this traumatic thing together. Obviously, he's dealing with his health and just his loneliness, but it's also like this self-imposed isolation and exile. This movie is powerful, and it is a lot of feeling, and for how quiet and subtle quiet it is, and it is very subtle with a lot of things. It's just not the global warming. When the global warming thing is, because it's not like global warming constantly is coming up in every scene. It's just when the scenes it's in, it is beating you over the head with it. Like the first conversation with Michael, the Amanda Seyfried's husband who kills himself. And then with the conversation at the diner, and then the obviously the B-roll thing, and the funeral. Like when the moments it's in, but you remove those pieces, and I think that's why I keep talking about how you can swap in something else, because a lot of this movie is just about, like I said, this Ethan Reventhaler's experience and his life right now, and grappling with his own mental health and his own despair and his own crisis of faith, and trying to do what's right for Michael, but it's also like driven by this pregnant woman. This movie is amazing. Other than the criticism I said, I really don't have any other criticism I have for it, because it's shot beautifully. I think I texted you about it before, and that it felt like this. It felt very old, but very new. Like the way that a lot of the shots were set up, like retro. A shot of like a sign, like a lot of standing shots, not a lot of moving camera for certain things. And I like that. A lot of cuts, like hard cuts.
I was gonna say this is a classic case of the softest. This is what we joke around set was soft lighting is very popular, and it is, I would say, hit its peak of popularity around 2017, 2018. And this is like the softest lighting in the world. So we would say it's like we're being the softest boys in the room on set when we're trying to do like lighting like this. But it's so done so well and intentionally dark and silhouette. Everything is like single light lit at night. Which is more realistic.
The real lighting, the candle light, or like the lamp lighting.
Yeah, there's always only one source of lighting in any of the rooms in any of the scenes, which I loved. Except for the daytime stuff where you have windows with light pouring in, obviously.
Yeah, but the daylight looks so real, it looks so good. Like it fit.
they did such a good job of just like playing natural, like making it look natural. It didn't look like it was like overly stylized or anything, other than just they wore like an ND 50, like 1.5 on this the entire time, and just said we want barely enough light. But I like that too. I like it helps like fit with the isolation and the despair feel, with like especially when you have any of the characters walking in front of the windows with the silhouettes, because then it's just like it's all darkness around them, and just where they are is just a little bit of light that's left. Yeah, like metaphorically for just like the character in the story. Like I think just everything went, and I like the 4x3. I know some people
Oh
think it gets overused, but I think it worked for this. It was framed beautifully for it. It wasn't just 4x3 for fuck's sake.
Yes, I was gonna say this is a fucking example. And I think it's like it's old cinema. It's not even 4x3. It's like 1 to 1 point whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I knew.
I forget. I'm not gonna look it up to waste time, but it's technically not 4.3. It's or 4x3. It's 1 to 1 something. That's like an old film ratio. For theaters, but what I like, this is an example of doing that, and it enhances the film. It enhances the experience. Like I said, the retro future feel, of the shooting and the lighting, and this film feels like it could have been a film made in the 60s or 70s, but it's so crisp, and obviously it's high definition, and I love that shit. I love the it's almost minimally shot. Like I said, there's not like camera movement. The lighting you said is really soft, a lot of natural lighting. It is less is more with a lot of this. And I can't know the budget. What is the budget on this?
That I don't know, but I did look up. The aspect ratio is 1:37 to 1, which it's close to 4x3. It's just a little different.
Yeah, but, slightly. I knew it wasn't exactly the same as 4x3.
It's very close though.
The budget
but then you have.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say they shot this on Master Primes, and Zeiss Master Primes are the cleanest show at the time. At least now we have Supreme Primes and Signature Primes, but at the time those are the cleanest, clearest, just best lenses when you're just looking for this, like the cleanest image, no distortion, no chromatic aberrations, no flaring, like they are just fucking clean. And that when you have such soft lighting, you need that heavy clarity to just keep those details in the light that you are letting on skin tones and stuff like that. And this movie is just so crisp because of that. Like knowing that these are on Master Primes makes so much more sense on the look of it.
That's one thing, and I've read some criticisms of cinematography for our latter movie, The Card Counter, but I honestly really loved how both of these films looked and were shot, and we'll get to Card Counter later, but I really loved the scene transitions and a use of color and extraction in that movie. It's for someone who's been a writer first. I really am impressed by how this stuff is shot, and obviously that goes to the cinematographers even more.
Yeah,
so,
there's a lot of directors. Well, the DP is in the cinematographer the same thing.
Okay, sorry.
It's just two different words. One is the technical term, and one is like the thing for like the union. You're in like the ACE. But anyways, a lot of directors, and I've seen this firsthand, like all they care about is the actors, and the entire look and all that is just left to the cinematographer to just like this is the tone I want, and then the cinematographer just goes. And I've seen so many times with directors I've worked with, like even the Hulu short that Evan and I did, the director he would just look over and was like, "Hey, it looks good," but like
they both have the same cinematographer, both movies. So
yeah.
that regardless, and when I think obviously established guys that have been around a while, they might have someone they have a relationship with, where they kind of
like you're hiring the DP for their look,
and you can speak a similar language. Like they might know what the director's trying to get out of something. Like someone who's more of an auteur. I imagine less of an if you're just if you're less of an auteur, I imagine you can let your cinematographer just go wild with something. Someone who's I know some filmmakers are probably more hands-on with that. Or just like signing off of it, because like that's what I would do. Like I think about when I've made music or music video, it's like I'm not an expert in that, but I know what I'm looking for. And if you show me if someone who can speak your language shows you what you're looking for, and you just sign off of it, and I trust you to now be the steward of this this aesthetic, this look, for the rest of the project. I think that there's a lot of ways to do it, and that's interesting. I think a lot of people that are like me, that are more layman's or novices to the industry, understanding how it works, might sleep on. They might think the director controls way more about how things are shot than they do. And honestly, and like I was saying, it probably depends on the relationship between the two. Or if there's just or they're more hands off. Some directors probably way hands off,
Yeah, even in my own experience between gaffing and DPing, it's a wide gamut of directors and what they like. You have some like the director of Euphoria, where season 1 he is very hands on. Everything has to be a certain look or whatever. And then season 2, he's got the same DP. Then he doesn't even like wait around for anything. It's just like, all right, looks good. All right, cool. This is it. Like it's like that trust is built. But then you'll have things where it's like I've worked on a couple times with a couple directors that they only care about the performance and then the framing, and then literally everything else, as long as they don't find it distracting to their eye and distracting from the performance, it's just kind of left up to art department and the DP to just craft the tone and the themes.
That was what I was trying to say, and you said it much more concise and succinct. So thank you. So all right, let's wrap up this first Reformed here. Before, I know we touched on the big names in the cast, but boy, is it a great cast. It's small. This is a small cast, but Ethan Hawke, this might be one of the best performances I've ever seen from him. Amanda Seyfried, indie queen, just like I always think of her like I think of like Chloe Sevigny or like Riley Keough and new A24 stuff. They're just like, they are in lots of really good indie movies, and they usually always do well. Amanda Seyfried's great. Cedric the Entertainer in a serious role, awesome.
Really good.
And I can't help but I'm gonna end up comparing how Cedric Entertainer was used in this film to how Tiffany Haddish is used in The Card Counter. Because I think that it is an important distinction. Not because they are both African American, but they are both, I think, predominantly comedy actors and comedy performers. And seeing how they were used in these very serious films, and this film is even more serious than The Card Counter. But yeah, Bill, the guy who plays Bill Hogue, I've seen, or not Bill Hogue, Edward Balk. I've seen him in a few things. He's in The Leftovers. He was in Man in the High Castle. A good character actor and a lot of stuff. Very hateable in this. I've seen him play a good guy. I've seen him play a bad guy. Very, very hateable capitalist. But yeah. So, do you have anything to say before we talk about this wild ass ending in a little more detail? Or anything else you'd like to touch upon?
I don't think so. Other than just I like that little green screen thing where they're floating and whatever. I like that was just kind of a for a movie that was very much grounded in the real world. It was nice to just have for somebody who is dealing with so much internal struggle shit to just have something more surreal to like kind of get more of an experience of what they're experiencing and how they're experiencing it. But yeah, I'm good to move on to the ending.
So the ending is batshit crazy. So as we were saying before, Amanda Seyfried's husband Michael was basically an eco-terrorist, an aspiring eco-terrorist, a
non-violent.
Not to this point, non-violent.
Yeah, they make a point to say that he was non-violent before.
Until he was about to put on a suicide vest.
Yes.
So earlier in the film, Ethan Hawke and Amanda Seyfried, they find his suicide bomb vest. They give it to Ethan Hawke, and Ethan Hawke's supposed to dispose of it. You find out later in the film he did not dispose of it, and he gets very sympathetic to the cause. And then he finds out about his health and gets very reckless and suicidal. And throughout the film, they're preparing for this consecration ceremony. It's an anniversary of some kind, and the church has been around. Yeah, it's been around since colonial times, and there's gonna be a lot of rich people there, capitalists there, politicians there. So he plans on putting on the vest and blowing it up. Then right before it happens, he finds out from Amanda Seyfried that she's gonna be there as well. So he decides that I'm not going to blow him up. Instead, I'm just going to wrap my body in barbed wire and drink Drano.
He tells her not to go, but he looks through the window and sees her walking into the church. Like she showed up when she wasn't supposed to.
Yes.
And that's what he just screams in his robes and everything about it. Like he's just so disappointed. But the barbed wire thing was just like, I kind of like, did he still have it on whenever she walked in on him? She went to hug him, or did he want to be found?
Yes.
Did he just want to be found dead, covered in barbed wire?
I think it was supposed to be symbolic because something to do with some Jesus shit. That's what I kept thinking about. Is like the barbed wire has to be abstract and symbolic.
Well, I didn't know if he got like the barbed wire from like that toxic like land waste area or not, and I didn't know if it was supposed to be
I don't know.
I'm being strangled, like I'm strangled like the sea turtles with the plastic thing.
Maybe I don't know why I thought it was supposed to be Christ-like.
Well, I mean, you would think because of Crown of Thorns, that's what I kept
thinking. That it reminded me of Jesus, but I honestly don't know.
But I don't. He doesn't ever come off that he feels like Jesus, though. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think. Yeah, you're right. He wouldn't. The character would never posit that he is Christ-like. So I don't know. I don't know exactly, but I know that has to be an abstraction more than literal from the movie. And
what a plan B. What a plan
I'm
B.
gonna wrap myself in barbed wire and drink drain cleaner. Doesn't drink stops himself when she comes in and kisses him. He does do the ceremony, right?
No. He doesn't even. Everyone keeps looking for him, and
that's right. And he's just in the back.
And he's just ready, just prepping, and then she shows up, and then he's screaming in his robes, and he starts wrapping himself in barbed wire and looking at his bloodstains, and then right when he's about to do his Drano, she walks in. He's just like, I took that as just like he was just waiting for anything
to stop
anyone to just save him, and it was like to him was like an act of God. Her walking in is like an act of God. Like, it's not my time.
I wonder if even the kiss was sexual for him, like
it was very passionate.
It was passionate, but what is it like? I'm sure it was, but I feel like maybe there's a reading in there where you could say that like it was more about some kind of religious thing. Like saved by this kiss, but yeah, like saved his life. I mean, he still has health issues, but it wasn't explicit that his health issues were like terminal yet. It just seemed like that they were good, like it was bad. It could be really bad, but we don't know quite yet. Yeah, I love this film. I really love this film, and I'm ready to start talking scores because the first time I saw it, I gave this a 4.5. I looked on Letterboxd. Oh, wow. I already had it scored. I thought about it more. I heard of some people criticize the score. I didn't even notice it.
I love the score.
I love the score in both of these. I like the score in the card counter even more. But
the score in this movie isn't really a score. It's literally just occasionally very dark, like low rumble sounds every once, like when shit's going down, and that's about it. But which I liked. I thought it worked with it. I definitely would not knock it for the score. But that very much fit what it was going for.
I think I want to settle on a 4 this time, but I could very easily be talked back into a 4.5. I think the heavy-handedness of the global warming is the only, it's like how much does that knock it for me? And
you could have done it in such a way that I think could easily have made this even a 5. But
yes, I agree. There is a 5 in this thing.
There is, yeah, it's already close to a 5 as is. You know, like I'm sitting at a 4, but it's just like the head, like we had to have that, you know, mid 2000s were like sitting on a computer screen scrolling through things, clicking, like, but it was all global warming, the world's ending, and it was just like we got.
Yeah, and I really hated that that also happens in the card counter. The card counter does so many of the same things but worse.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
there's a lot of parallels.
So many parallels, but a significantly inferior film. The only thing that I liked about the card counter is just a way better. It's way more colorful, and there's so much. There's a lot of really beautiful shots in that. I feel like that's the only thing I could put up over this. So yeah, I think maybe I'll stay at 4.
That's where I'm at.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even remember if I might have switched it back to a 4.5. I kept switching it.
I'm solidly at a 4. But I don't blame you for 4.5 because it's got style.
I did do 4.5.
And Ethan Hawke has the perfect gravel voice in this movie. The entire time, I just kept thinking of like, man, how do people who have like normal voices and then they do something like this, like how does it sound so good? Like I feel like if I try doing a gravel voice, it just sounds cheesy, and I'm trying to sound like Solid Snake. But
I put First Reformed over Green Knight on my top list. It's below The Killer and above Green Knight, but that also puts it above Amelie, Requiem for a Dream, Kids, and Shape of Water.
I would say I like this definitely above all of those except for Kids. Kids just really stuck with me, like for days after.
All right, then I'm gonna say 4.5 then, because I really liked all those movies I just named.
Well, I have those movies I think lower than you do, except for Requiem and Kids. Kids, I just kept thinking about Kids and Gummo for like weeks after.
All right, let's move on to the next one. The Card Counter, starring Oscar Isaac and Tiffany Haddish and Willem Dafoe. Came out this year, just came out. Also directed by Paul Schrader.
Paul the Dog Schrader, the Bulldog.
This movie is about a man who was in prison for a while, but who learned how to count cards and be really good at poker, casino stuff. And he's small time. He just travels from casino to casino making his money, and but nothing big. And he stumbles upon this kid. And you find out that our main character, Oscar Isaac, served in the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and actually was stationed at the infamous Abu Ghraib prison, where many people were tortured, murdered, etc. at. And he's kind of so there's like that ends up being one of the major themes of the film, and he meets this young guy named Kirk with a C. They say that multiple times, Kirk with a C, and his dad killed himself as a result of PTSD from his experience at that prison, and he's trying to get Oscar Isaac to help him murder one of the orchestrators, who was played by Willem Dafoe. So, Kory, what did you think about the Card Counter?
After I first came out of the theater, I thought this was pretty good. It was slow. I thought it was like too slow for me. I got probably bored in the middle part of it. But after seeing First Reformed, now I'm kind of feeling even less about it because of I feel like I just saw the same movie twice. With differences, obviously, but
yeah, there are major differences, but the core of the theme, the core of the movie is the same.
Yeah, and that's now doing that. It's kind of just like, because it just feel like you just did the same thing, but not as good. But I thought it was really good, though. I mean, the cinematography is what really I just kept paying attention to, and really
beautiful,
took me away.
Gorgeous.
I love this color palette of just like these like reds, browns, beiges, and fucking
blacks.
Yeah, and just it looked so much. It looked like taking, if you look at like First Reformed, as like if that's like the building block or whatever of just like crisp and fucking clean, and then you're just like like, all right, how do we build on top of that, and let's add color, but it's not color for like vibrancy's sake, and like it's not colorful in a sense of like a Marvel movie or a Pixar movie or something. It's like it's hard. It's like dirty color, but good. But still clean and crisp.
Yeah, I thought the colors. I love the way it was graded and.
Yeah, huge fan of that. But I don't know. It was cool. I feel like I'm after seeing First Reformed, because I saw that one second. After seeing First Reformed, I just like I don't know. I am now feeling like mixed about it.
I think I liked it more than, but I also recognize that it was not like it had a lot of problems. This film is a lot of flaws and is a little bit messy. I don't even know if messy is a word I'd use. It's just I didn't give a shit about any of these characters.
Yep.
And that's the number one difference between this film and First Reformed. I had a lot of care for Reverend Toller and a lot of care for Amanda Seyfried's characters. Everyone else is pretty peripheral to that story. But I even cared about the choir teacher. Like I had a lot of investment in everyone in that story. This movie, the only person I even remotely was interested in was Oscar Isaac's character. And I would say Oscar Isaac's performance is probably one of the only good performances, acting-wise, in this film. And even then, it's just like it's very brooding and intense. But there are some noticeable discrepancies when seeing him in a scene with the actor who plays Kirk and Tiffany Haddish's character. Lalinda. Oh man, they just showed his tattoos. Man, his tattoos were awful. And I don't know if they're trying to capture some kind of aesthetic, but the font of the shit on his back is so bad. It might as well have been in Comic Sans.
I was just about to say it was like Comic Sans.
You might as well put it in Comic Sans. And then the lick 'em stick 'em tattoo, American flags on his arm. Yeah. And I get that one was supposed to demonstrate a tattoo he probably got in the military, and one was a demonstrated tattoo he got in prison. It's just they both look bad.
Yeah, I haven't seen tattoos this bad since Suicide Squad 2016. With the Joker's tattoos.
So what I had to do to enjoy this movie, I did enjoy this movie, and I got like maybe felt like it started to drag like 2/3 of the way through because I couldn't tell when the ending was coming. Like, oh, here it's coming. No. But I'm here to enjoy some vibes, some cool cinematography, a slow burn story. That hopefully is interesting, and I'm just here for the ride and the immersion and the vibe, and I think that way I was able to enjoy it more. But boy, if I tried to think about this narrative at all, it becomes very frustrating very quickly. And as much as I think the cinematography is at a high level, and the way things are shot looks so good, man, where there's some straight up I realized Red Letter Media was on the screen. I realized that there was serious mistakes in other facets of the production. The scene with the date, the light up date, which was really cool, visually awesome. You know what I'm talking about? The light up date.
I think I do.
What do you mean?
I think I do.
What do you mean? It was towards the end of the movie. They go on a date, and there's lights everywhere.
Oh yeah, sorry. For some reason, for when you said light up date, I for some reason just kept thinking a neon sign calendar. I'm just like, what the fuck? But sorry, go ahead. Continue.
They're having a conversation, and Tiffany Haddish's lines are all dubbed, and Oscar Isaac's lines are not.
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
And it's shooting from behind her. It's shooting from behind her, so we can't see her mouth. And that is a fucking thing that they do in B movies to try to cover up somebody's terrible acting. That is like, she had to like, if those were the takes that they kept, she must have really had some bad takes. That's what I kept thinking.
I thought that they just had bad chemistry throughout the whole movie. I feel like she didn't, like, while Cedric the Entertainer's kind of shtick, it fit for the character that he was playing, which is like a past a priest or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And like which is already kind of being like a Cedric the Entertainer type of guy. But like Tiffany Haddish was just, I don't know. I saw it at the Laugh Factory a couple months ago, and she was really funny. But it just didn't really land for me. Like it just felt that most of this movie just felt like it's just Tiffany Haddish and Oscar Isaac sitting at bars drinking and talking, and I just didn't care.
It's because of how cringe their dialogue was. Not the dialogue and the writing, but really just the performance.
The delivery, yeah.
And I think it was mostly Tiffany Haddish's, performance that was making it hard. You're seeing somebody that was very experienced actor and somebody that is mostly a comedic actor and a voice actress. She's me and Riss watched Tuca and Birdie, and she plays Tuca, and her character is very bombastic and over the top and funny and fun, and it works. And I think in voice acting, it's easier for some people to get over the top versus on camera. And I think I haven't seen any of her on-camera work really until this. But man, it felt like an amateur actress trying to do a serious role for the first time. And I hate to dog on her because I like her a lot. And it's like, and I don't think she's the sole reason that this movie has issues. But I think that it's a major. And I love the character. Like, it's not like I have an issue with this interracial relationship or that that she's an African American character or anything like that. They could swap anybody in, and I think it would have made the movie better. So I like Tiffany Haddish. It's hard because I like her. She is an attractive personality in person. It's just it's not enough. It's not enough charisma to act act at a high level in a film like this.
I mean, she was predominantly a comedy actress too, so it's like it's kind of like you're doing with like the Jonah Hill, where it's like we want to take a guy who's just known for comedy stuff and throw him into something serious. But in this case, I just don't think it landed, and I just don't think it fits for the kind of like stuff that she does. And she's great. Like Kylie and I saw her for Kylie's birthday at the Laugh Factory, and she killed it. Like it was like a 10-minute standing ovation. It was awesome. It was hilarious.
And I like the way that she looks on screen visually.
Yeah,
and she's like
she has a presence.
Her age and body type, like it feels like it feels not typical, and it's fresh and it works visually. That's not any of the issue. It's just the delivery of her lines, and it's not even all of them. It's just particularly the scenes between her and Oscar Isaac that are like like they're trying to navigate their professional relationship, and that they also like each other or whatever. But honestly, Kirk also I hated. It's not even so much his performance, but the character is stupid and made the movie worse. The character, like I hated the character of Kirk, even in his role in the narrative. Like I know that I'm supposed to dislike Kirk because he's a piece of shit, but I don't like what he did to the story. First half hour of this film, I was like, this vibe is so coull. It is very it feels like I'm watching an educational like a very dry clinical tutorial on how to count cards and how to play games at a high, like a card counter's perspective on the casino, and especially someone who's not big time. Like it just makes it seem like anyone can do this if they study and take the time to work at it and practice.
Yeah.
Practice is a big thing that comes up many times in the film for how he can do this well. And because of his time in prison, he was able to use that time to hone a skill at a high level like this. He talks about this is the best sell on prison I've ever heard. That's what I said to Riss. I was like, man, he's really making prison sound like it's pretty good. It's pretty good for you.
You got nothing else to do but master something.
And he doesn't seem to be scared to go back in the end, with spoilers. The ending I have a lot of problems with. The ending had a lot. I think that's what it just felt like. This movie, I couldn't understand where it was going. I didn't care about the poker tournaments, so it's not a sports movie. It's not like the typical or like the Queen's Gambit or whatever. Like it's not a building to the character winning the big championship. they get the money and it makes, they ride off in the sunset. This is it has those plot points in there, but it is not about that. It is about
it's background.
It is about Oscar Isaac trying to save Kirk. And Kirk does not want to be saved by Oscar Isaac. And honestly, when Oscar Isaac first says to Linda that that's why he's doing this, I don't believe him. I didn't believe him for so long in this movie. I was like, there's got to be something else. There's got to be another ulterior motive here. Like maybe he is going to try to help Kirk kill this guy. Maybe he is going to kill Kirk. Like maybe I kept trying to fantasize more interesting ways that it could have gone than where it went.
Yeah, I felt like once they had the conversation about like this is why I need your help to do the shit. I kind of was just like, all right, well, this is obviously gonna end like it's gonna end in I figured just like a showdown or like where the kid's gonna turn heel on Oscar Isaac, but I don't know, Kirk with a C, just
I hated him.
Kind of, yeah. He's kind of a douche, but
I was as soon I was like, this movie is my fucking kind of movie, and as soon as
it starts out and like you have that, and then like the twine thing is interesting with like wrapping the hotel room.
Yeah, the setup of this movie is a 5 out of 5. The setup of this movie is fantastic.
And then it just stops and goes to the bar to have a drink and talk to Tiffany Haddish.
Honestly, the movie started falling off once we had the scene with Kirk. And then we're just like, okay, Kirk's gonna come with you, and Kirk sucks, and I didn't understand why, and then it was just like, oh, it's I'm gonna save Kirk, and then maybe that's why I didn't believe it, because I didn't think, like, are you that naive to think that you can do this to this kid? Like he's gonna go his own way.
Shit.
What?
Oh God! Oh, sorry. A wasp just flew on the back of my head.
Where is it?
It's on the blinds in front of me. Jesus Christ! It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, you react. Me and I don't react well to bees and wasps and stuff. Riss always likes to make fun of me for it. You just
man.
Relax.
Well, there's a new nest outside the house again, and they keep crawling in through my office window somehow. I usually find like one every couple of days in there. Jesus Christ! I didn't even hear it buzzing around. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Kirk sucks. Kirk sucks.
Yeah, but like you want to feel bad because like I get the thing with his dad and like that sucks and you want to blame somebody for it, but like I don't know. I
the actor who plays Kirk's Ty Sheridan, and he plays young Cyclops in the X-Men. X-Men Apocalypse. Only in X-Men Apocalypse. And he's Ready Player One. He's the main character of Ready Player One movie.
Oh, he's the Ready Player One guy. Gotcha. I never saw that movie, but it didn't look appealing.
I don't like this guy. Did not like him. Didn't like his character. Really couldn't wait for him to die. Died off screen in an unfulfilling way.
Well, how'd you feel about Willem Dafoe at least? Like, did that? Because I like him in most.
I would have to talk. Willem Dafoe is great because he's great and everything, but the best part of the movie was I don't know what the lens was. It reminded me of a fisheye lens. I
think it was a fisheye.
You're
talking about black and white stuff.
Moving, there wasn't black and white, but moving through the prison, all the prison scenes. Like it would like walk through the prison and the whole world would like be morphing around and you can see down the one hallway while seeing down the other hallway. I've never seen the fisheye lens used in that way before. It was super cool and surreal. It felt like the dream sequence, the first dream sequence. I loved the way that looked. That was probably the coolest part of the movie for me. Like the death metal playing and the dog barking and like this feels awful to me right now, let alone how if you had to, live in this for days at a time.
Yeah, I'm curious about it because they didn't shoot anamorphic on this, so it has to be some kind of a fisheye. And like I used to do those Google photography things. We had to do 18mm on a full frame lens or sensor to get about 178 degrees, 175-ish degrees. So I wonder if they just did something like that, but you have to crop in on that because when you're recording on the sensor, you just get a circle from it because it's so fisheyed. But it looks like they just did something like that and cropped in to be able to get like the two doors looks thing.
Oh man, I've never seen something like that before in my life, and I feel like it just is inspiring for the ways that you can excuse me, use that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was like how we were talking last week about Annette, where it's just like I brought up just this made me think so much about like how much further you can push with cinema and stuff like that. But it's just like the little subtlety differences that you can get can make like a big impact on a scene and just
It's just like all it takes is one person using a thing that's existed forever in a slightly new way, and it can inspire people to use it in 10 other new ways. I hate how people say that like there's nothing original, nothing's new under the sun. That's the saying, and I mean that is true. But what we can do is take old techniques with new techniques and mix and match them into something new. And there's so many permutations of that. There's so many new things you can do just with rearranging the shit that we've already used.
I was gonna say when time goes on too, people forget and things become forgotten of techniques and styles, and just even somebody doing something that hasn't been done before, but it hasn't been done in so long that it's irrelevant.
Well, that's what ends up like pairing an old technique with new technology. A technique from the '60s, but now we have fucking 8K cameras and whatever. Like we have new technologies in post, and we have new. And green screen technology is so much further ahead, and that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. It's in all mediums. Technology opens new doors, and creates new things you can do. And I think people latch onto those new things, and then they remember that not only can you do completely new things with that technology, you can then reinterpret old techniques through that, which then make more new things, and so on and so forth. Yeah. It is true that there's nothing new, but there are certainly new ways that you can do it.
Yeah, and it's there's always a new audience. But do you want to get more into the ending, or do you want to?
I don't know. Like we talked about the date scene, the light, it will remind me of like Heartwood Acres or something. Riss just went to a paper lantern festival, and she sent me pictures, and it looked very similar to that date. I liked them together as a ship. I don't know. I feel so little about this movie, and that's the problem. It's like as much as I enjoyed the experience of watching it in the theater, I don't feel anything for this movie. When characters died, I felt nothing. When he went back to prison, I felt nothing. Oh yeah, what did you think about the scene where Oscar Isaac's trying to take Kirk to prison to meet his old buddy in prison, and Kirk's just like, no fucking way, which I would have said the same thing. Like, this is weird and you might be crazy.
Yeah, it just seemed
and they did it off screen.
Yeah, I was say it just seemed like I mean, you should show it, but that just seemed like, I don't know, this isn't Scared Straight, you know what I mean? Like that shit isn't real.
I feel like his character, Oscar Isaac's character, is very naive about how he can impact it. He doesn't know how he can save this kid. He just like, well, if I hand him a shitload of money, that has to do it. And anyone who knows when you hand a sniveling fucking brat a shitload of money, they're gonna just fuck it up. Like that is not the way that they learn a lesson.
Not like Oscar Isaac. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say he threatens them to do it on top of that, and that's not the way to do it either. People have to learn a lesson on their own, like not necessarily by themselves, but they have to learn the lesson themselves. They cannot be forced to simulate the lesson. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was gonna say was like, it's not even like Oscar Isaac was in prison long enough for there to be like, oh well, like it's back in my day, you could do things this way, take a kid under your wing and do some shit, or maybe it's just like a military background of just like the camaraderie of taking somebody sticking together to make sure everyone is okay. But that's just it doesn't work. Like you said, it's just like fucking kids hate authority and kids hate being told no. And
Do you think what it was trying to say? This is just coming to me, but because he was in the military and had a weird experience, an abnormally weird experience in the military, which is already trauma-inducing, as it is. Then goes to prison, which is isolating and will fuck you up socially. Then gets out of prison and becomes an isolated loner who turns his motel rooms into prison cells daily, every day. Do you think that maybe his approach to Kirk being so weird has to do with how fucked up socially he might be, from his isolation?
That could be. Yeah, it could be like,
just thought
if
of
you're
it.
going down this path is just gonna leave you in a worse, like you'll end up like me kind of thing. Like, yeah, I could see that. It's just kind of saving him from becoming yourself type of situation.
Well, and it seems like he's only really doing this for his own redemption. It doesn't seem like Kirk wants closure by killing John Gordo, Willem Dafoe's character, and Oscar Isaac seems to be seeking closure by helping Kirk and having a chance to do something maybe fatherly or just to help someone who was affected by the same shit that ruined his life. So I get the motivation, but it's like it seems to be more about himself and not about Kirk. It has to be, because the delusion, the level of delusion and naivety he has with himself about saving Kirk, that I can't imagine that he just meets Kirk, this douchey kid, and was like, I'm gonna save his life because it's the right thing to do because I'm just a good guy. Because he doesn't stake me for just being he doesn't stake me as a bad guy. It seems like everyone he meets that knows him likes him, from the circuits and whatnot. But it seems like do they know the real him? The score in this movie is amazing. I saw some complaints about it, but I really feel like it illustrates. It's like very whispery, and then like there'll be randomly some like indie songs play, but usually it's very like tones and whispery, and it just really illustrates this quiet chaos that is going on beneath the surface for our protagonist. And then after the dream sequence, it like transitions out with those sounds again and like shit over top of other shit. Like there's a lot of that, like fading in, like overlaying two shots on each other where they're like in the same location. So you see like the ghosts of people moving in the prison or something like that, or in the casino. It's definitely illustrates his mental illness well, but also like that he has his routine helps him have a control of it, I guess. There's a lot of love of the routine. And Kirk doesn't like the routine. Kirk brings up how it's the same shit every day, living this life. He also mentions like why are you making me do this, essentially, and Oscar Isaac's like, well, being on the circuit, doing the loop helps you work things out. And I think that's he's talking about prison there. Also, that prison is what helped him get his life right and work things out. And that maybe if you're on some kind of routine, it helped me, that it'll help you. I'll pass this back to you, but it makes me rethink about something. I'm somebody who likes routine a lot for that reason. I like to do. I like structure. When I have no structure, I end up doing nothing. That's a big problem for me. And if I take a week off and I don't have things planned, I will not leave the house and I will just be a lump of shit. And I can sympathize with that a lot, but also realizing that other people have different ways of dealing with life or helping them cope with their own idiosyncrasies. And that's, just what works for you isn't going to work for someone else. And trying to
100%
trying to graft your own ways upon somebody else could lead them to ruin, or they'll lead them not to ruin, but lead them to reject you to the point of oblivion, like we see with Kirk.
Yeah, it's like interesting to say too, because like you could look at that parallel between you and I, where I'm of the two of us, I'm the more like less structure, based because of work and stuff. I'm constantly just making plans on the fly or doing jobs on the fly, and just kind of it's I've just kind of been wired to be that way. And I've always between all like the touring and stuff I used to do, I've always was just like, man, I wish I could just be in one place in one spot, and I miss like I want stability in that. And now I've had it for the last like year, the year and a half, and it's now getting like I'm just craving like the just the and I still get it because I travel for work still a bunch, but I kind of like missing like the tour lifestyle of just I for me to get through my stuff is just constantly just kind of doing whatever I'm feeling in the moment, and just kind of rolling with it. So like I get that. It's you know, it's not one size fits all is only for like hats. But it's I don't know, I guess I forgot where I was going with this, but
You were just building.
yeah,
You were just
agree.
like kind of
Yeah,
agreeing
yeah.
with what I was saying.
But
Yeah,
I want to say about the score though.
yes.
I was gonna say for the people who keep this is 2 for 2 people saying that the score was not good. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I think Paul Schrader like knows what he like how to pair like proper music for what the themes and tones he's going for.
Your Movie Sucks said he hated the score in First Reformed, and then I just skimmed reviews and Letterboxd on this, which are surprisingly much more positive than wow we feel about it. But I did see some people complaining about the score, and I just like thought that was crazy. Like the score is much more active in this film, but I don't think it took away from it in any way.
I thought it added. I thought it just it's a great accompaniment. I didn't even notice it, other than like the big like dream stuff and
I noticed it in a good way.
That's what I mean. Like I didn't notice like nothing stood out as in like oh like I felt a certain type of way like in a negative tone about it. It's just I don't know. I just thought it fit.
Mm-hmm. No, I noticed it in a good way. It's hard because I liked the film and in a lot of ways, but I ultimately recognize that it is kind of a bad film. We just watched Twilight last night, and I described
which one?
Not the last one. We finished the whole series. We finished all of them last night. So we can do our Twilight. If we want to do a bonus episode or just a video talking about it, we can. But I would totally characterize those movies as good, bad movies because they are objectively, unequivocally trash films. But they are very entertaining and they have a lot of entertainment value. And there are like, you could talk about good things in it, like about the aesthetics or whatever. But this movie is probably a bad, good movie. Whereas the aesthetics are on point. It is beautiful. It has like looks like a duck and quacks like a duck in terms of the things that I like in a good slow burn indie that really has a good attention to detail in the aesthetic department. I know I keep saying aesthetic, but it doesn't really land. It doesn't really execute, and I ultimately did not care about any of the characters outside of the protagonist, and the protagonist arc ultimately ends in an unfulfilling way.
Yeah, this is a case of just the sum or the parts are greater than the sum. Everybody involved in this is very talented. Everybody involved in this does great things. This is just a scenario of like it's all those things coming together weren't enough, and I that falls on the director, obviously, but I'm not gonna want to see this probably ever again.
Probably
if it
not.
comes on. If it comes on in passing and there's nothing like going on, but we don't really watch TV like that anymore. It's not like I'm just gonna have like TNT on in the background.
These movies aren't gonna get put on it either. Yeah, me and Riss watch Basic Cable, and there's channels like Comets. We've been watching parts of Star Trek movies for the last few weekends, and we're now at the point where we've pretty much seen all the movies by seeing the different sections of it randomly. I missed that about old TV, but yeah, sorry, I digress. But yeah, this movie is, I don't know. Like I said, I enjoyed the experience, but I don't walk away from it thinking that it was a good film.
Yeah, I would want to see more Paul Schrader. But
yes, I think we're gonna do Taxi Driver and Raging Bull at some point, so we can look at him as a writer. And I'm not sure what his other strong films are, but we can look into that as well. But yeah, before we give a score, because we do need to wrap up, I did want to talk about the ending. So essentially, in the ending, Oscar Isaac threatens to torture Kirk and gives him $150,000 to go see his mom. Kirk leaves. And you think that he's going to do that. You find out that Kirk went to go kill John Gordo, Willem Dafoe's character, and was murdered in the process. Riss pointed out that he tried to kill John Gordo with a pellet gun, which insinuates that he did not think he was actually going to succeed and he was committing suicide by cop. How did you feel about that?
Wow,
Because remember, his original plan was I was going to trank him. But the news report says that all he had was a pellet gun. So that tells me that he committed suicide.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. Oh my God.
It does add a little bit of
stank.
stank.
that kind of makes me rethink the character of the movie now as a whole. But
yeah, I think maybe you just didn't think Kirk would do that, and maybe the suicide part not being completely apparent. Takes away, but the fact that it happens off screen, there's just like a detachment. There's like a detachment from it. So this all happens.
You build up. This whole movie builds up to this point, and you don't see it, and that's like kind of a letdown in it. And I was watching this featurette of it yesterday. It was like an interview with Schrader, and he was just talking about, this movie's designed. There's constantly something entertaining happening, grabbing you the whole movie. No, you're wrong. You didn't even show us like what you were building for the entire time.
So
it delivers in a different way.
Yeah. In the end, Oscar Isaac is in the World Series of Poker Championships and is about to win and finds out that Kirk was killed and then just leaves. Then goes to John Gordo's house and has a torture off with him off screen where they take turns torturing each other until one of them dies. And you find out that our Oscar Isaac wins. He reports the homicide and goes back to prison. The very end of the film, as Kory was spoiling on his camera, Lalinda comes back. They touch fingers on the glass in the visitation room, and the credits roll over their fingers, and the fingers stay that way until the credits are done. Which I stayed to the end to make sure that it did not change.
Well, the fingers were on there for like 30 seconds before the credits even rolled.
Yeah. It was like playing that song, and then the song just kept playing.
And then it's like, all right, that's it.
All right, let's wrap this up.
I was gonna say it's kind of I forgot to say for First Reform, I felt the ending was abrupt. I did not expect it to just be credits roll when they started, like after they started kissing. I
like
for a
that
bit.
Though.
I
wanted to see more, and I think that's like
in a good way. It's not like
when
I
you
felt
want
left
more.
out.
Yeah. Like, leave and want more. That was definitely a leave and want more moment, and that's why the ending works. This movie, I was ready for it to end. Absolutely ready.
Yeah.
So what are you giving the card counter?
I'm sitting there at a 3.
I gave it a 3
cool.
Also.
And what's propping it up is just like Oscar Isaac's great, the cinematography's great, the score's great. I think that there is a much better movie in here.
I agree. I don't know. I don't think it could be
edited.
That BB
gun thing.
I don't think it could be edited into a better movie. I think that Tiffany Haddish might need to be recasted.
I think it just needs like slightly rewritten a bit, but not a lot, but just things like the pellet gun thing I didn't even notice until you brought it up, and like that would have been way more prevalent. I think that would have had a way more. I would have. I liked
that. I liked that it was subtle. I just didn't think of it at first. It was like maybe they thought that he tried to use the trank gun thing, and they thought it was a pellet gun or something. But no, it makes much more sense that way. But yeah, all right. I give it a 3 as well. Riss gave it a 2.5. I debated on doing the same, but I think I just too entertained by the movie. I didn't feel bored really as much as you or she said, but I liked it a lot. All right. So that does it for this week of Best Boys. Make sure if you're following us on all the things, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, Stitcher. We're on everywhere that you can find podcasts. The video podcast is on YouTube. We also stream every week at twitch.tv/SlobThomas. You can follow me on Twitter at SlobThomas. You can follow him on Twitter at Kory with a Story. Kory, do you have any updates with us before I tell him what we're doing next week?
Not really. There were some hiccups with Rough Pants, but that is, I think, finally getting in order. And also, my producer and my DP for my short film are finally off the shows that they were working on, and so we're gonna start. We have our first meeting next Saturday to get the ball rolling on that. But other than that, that's about it.
All right. Well, we'll all be excited about that. Make sure you keep us updated. Next week, we are watching... It's a David Lynch episode, Wild at Heart and Lost Highway. I know Kory's been waiting for a Lynch off, so you might see a little bit of him over the next month or so with Dune coming out. Not that he's doing that, but you know. All right, have a good one.
He should be.
I
said it.
Dune 2, Dune 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, the Dunening.
All right, well, my stomach's hurting, so I'm getting off of here, and y'all have a good day.
Have a good one.
Bye.